You create your own misery because no one else is expecting this of you. I think myself included, there's been times where I have felt like, is reflecting really productive? I gotta handle this client thing. I gotta handle this life thing. There's dishes needing to be done, laundry needing to be done. All those things are actually true. You're right. There are lots of things to be done. But also the reason that there's always that list and that list always gets done more than your clarity is because we don't take time to really sit with reflection. It's really difficult to put together IKEA furniture if you have no vision of what the thing is supposed to look like when it's done. If we don't have the vision, how are we supposed to know what to build? So your reflection and the level of reflection that you do within your business is directly correlated to the level of direction that you will have. Hello and welcome back to the Ambitious Podcast. Today, we are going to be doing what I would say is going to give you some insight, but also is kind of an exercise that I would love for you to go through. So this is something that, yes, if you want, you can definitely listen today and take notes, have a journal potentially beside you, a Google Doc, something that will kind of help you to document some of the things as I ask them. But if you are someone right now, maybe who's on a walk, you're working, you're in the car driving, this can also be something that as I ask these questions, you could take a second to reflect in your head, just to even think back to yourself. How does this land for me? Do I feel like there's something that comes up for me when she asks this? Today is really an episode dedicated to reflection. And I want to first take a second because when we reflect, when we have moments like today where we dedicate a time and a moment to pause and to be present and to really tune in with ourselves, with our business, there is a tendency for many of us to feel like, okay, I got stuff to do, right? I got to handle this client thing. I got to handle this life thing. There's dishes needing to be done, laundry needing to be done, messages that need to be answered, content that needs to be produced, and the list goes on. And the reality that I will be honest with you is that all those things are actually true. You're right. There are lots of things to be done. But also the reason that there's always that list and that list always gets done more than your clarity is because we don't take time to really sit with reflection. And I think myself included, there's been times where I have felt like, is reflecting really productive? Many of the times that I've kind of hoped or intended to sit down and reflect, I've ended up in, okay, like, what do I need to do? What's the outcome? How do I know if I've done this right? Today, if I was to define success for you, it's not about the fact that you are going to walk away with step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, perfectly outlined plan of action, milestones, all of that. Even though I know part of you would love to have that, the goal for today is actually to develop awareness. I think an issue that many entrepreneurs have is that they try to execute without having awareness, without having a deep understanding. And then what ends up happening is we fast forward and we feel overwhelmed, confused, or frankly lost within the thing that we're doing. And that's because we didn't take enough time to truly sit with ourselves. And so I'll be honest, this episode today was actually inspired by something that I was chatting about in therapy, which was there was something that, I'm navigating right now in my life. And it's a decision that I'm kind of wrestling with. And this decision, I remember saying to my therapist, like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I remember her saying to me, all I want you to do is just sit with yourself. And I thought, that is not the answer that I want. That's not the answer I was looking for. But it's interesting because every time that I'm alone, every time that I'm with myself and I just be, I'm not trying to achieve, I'm not trying to hit a milestone, get an outcome, execute a strategy, when I'm really just with myself, that's when the clarity comes, which for me, randomly enough, is when I'm on a walk with my dogs or when I'm, washing and lathering my hair in the shower. Like that's when the light bulbs happen. And so I think the main thing that I've noticed with myself and also frankly with a lot of clients, and maybe you even feel this for yourself, the only moments you feel clear are when you have a moment to just be. And then the question becomes, well, how do we create more moments for us to be? How do we create more moments for us to have those insights, to have that reflection? Or are we forcing our clarity in moments when we want to execute? And I would personally submit that the opportunity for clarity is not the time where we create the execution plan or frankly when we get into action. And so I wanted today to walk you through a reflection that's going to help give you clarity for yourself both personally and professionally based off of this year and things you've experienced, what you have awarenesses of. And my success for you today is that you're going to walk away with a different level of awareness of yourself and of your business from this past year, as well as going into next year. That then, as a part two to today, you can take that clarity and awareness and start to actually build a plan from it. And I don't want you to feel like I'm leaving you with just this awareness and this aha moment. We do have a episode that is specifically dedicated toward helping you to take your vision for your business and build it into a plan. I have an exercise that I do with all my clients that I made into a podcast for you. And it's called quarterly planning. And what it does is it goes through what your annual goal is, your 3-year goal, your 5-year goal, and it helps you to chunk all that down to how do we take that awareness of what we want to do and make it into a plan. But again, you'll note the first step is awareness. And so the goal today is that we want to create that awareness for you. So let's get into it. The first step that we want to look at is reflecting on the past year. And you might think, well, Kate, why am I doing it right now in the year? Like, why am I doing this in this moment? Should I not wait till January? Should I not wait till, December 27th to start this process? And I would actually argue that this is a process you can do with these questions anytime within the year. Because to check in with yourself is not something that we should only be doing at the end of the year or the start of the year. It's actually something we should be doing periodically throughout the entire year. So if you're thinking, is this too early to do this? Should I wait till later to do this or maybe till next year to do it? No, the moment is to do it now and to look at, yes, in this current moment, the opportunities, you still have some time left in the year to achieve this year's goals. But it also, I think, is a good time because if you haven't done this at all, you can reset to get clarity for next year. So I think either way you look at it, if you want to execute on this now, or if you want to have the clarity to execute on it later, it's going to be beneficial for both. So we're going to break each of these into two buckets, which is personal and professional. I want to ask in the personal bucket first. Okay. So reflecting on this past year, the first question being, what moment or moments made you feel most proud this year, even if nobody else noticed? Okay. So what moments made me feel most proud, even if nobody else noticed? What drained me or pulled me out of alignment this year? What boundaries protected my peace and which ones did I slip on or I didn't enforce consistently? When did I feel that I was most myself this year? Okay. So, like, what moment, going back to the first one, what moment made me feel most proud, even when no one else noticed? I'm going to give you some cues for myself. I would say the moment that made me feel most proud this year were the moments were the fact that I genuinely, which sounds a little bit weird, but I feel like this is the first year that I actually felt my feelings. I think I was like such in deep suppress for so long and like probably at some aspect in a lens of denial that I just didn't want to feel them. And like I'm going to be very transparent with you. I spent a lot of time this year, a good amount of time crying in the shower because I just felt like when I started the practice in personal development, mindset work, therapy, of really realizing I was like, hey, I've gone through a lot in my life and I've experienced it and I've thought about it and I've analyzed it, but I haven't actually felt it. And when I started to create a safe space for me to feel, it was like this overwhelming tsunami of emotion. And I would say I'm really proud of myself for that because I think that there's no way but through. And I was trying to find all these other ways to heal, like logistically to heal, to journal and think about it. And I was like, no, I have to feel this. And so I'm really proud. And it was something that nobody really knows that till now, nobody really knows that I've been navigating or experiencing. And that's because I didn't until this point like really need or ever have wanted to share it. It was just something that I was like, okay, like I'm doing this for me. So, what moment made you feel most proud, even if no one noticed? Two, what drained me or pulled me out of alignment? So, is there an area in your life this year that maybe there was a circumstance, a situation, or maybe there was a decision that you made that pulled you out of alignment or it drained you? Like when you think back to the decision, the experience, the person, the circumstance, you're like, "Man, that took a lot out of me this year." And again, is there a correlation between the thing that caused it and the feeling? Is there maybe a pattern there? Would also be something that I would invite you to look at. Sometimes when something drains us or it pulls us out of alignment, we also have a tendency, again, when we're not aware, to go back to that thing, to that person, to that situation time and time again. What boundaries protected my peace and which ones did I slip up on? And the which boundaries protected my peace is really important because these are typically things that oftentimes at the start of the year or in a moment where we were really emotionally activated or really emotionally needing those boundaries, we were super, super confident in enforcing them. We were really super, okay, you know what? Enough is enough. And you have that moment where you go, I'm not doing this anymore. And I've got a boundary around X. And I'm not going to let so and so drain my battery in these conversations, or I'm not going to let this outside circumstance determine how I feel anymore. But then over time, it feels like as that initial event where the boundary got created starts to diminish, our reinforcing of those boundaries kind of fade away. When our emotion starts to get back to neutral, there's a tendency for our reinforcing of those boundaries as well at times to get back to neutral. So, is there a boundary that you established this year or that you intended to establish this year as an effort to protect your peace, but that over time you've become more lax on, that you've become a little bit more easygoing on the way that it's enforced? And maybe this is an opportunity where we have an awareness to say, what do we want to do about that? Does that boundary serve us any longer? Is that a boundary that you think you need? Or maybe has something changed where another boundary has presented itself or another opportunity for your peace to be protected is actually what's presencing? When did you feel most yourself this year? Okay, so when did you feel most yourself this year? Was there a situation, a moment, an experience, big or small? I want to say this doesn't have to be some monumental thing. I would say for me, there was a moment this year where I was at the deepest level of self acceptance of my physical body. I think I've dealt with insecurity about my acne that I've struggled with. I've got, had some insecurity this year about just like my body changing and, weight shifting and things like that. And I remember thinking, like, this is what I look like. This is who I am. This is me. And I felt like I was wearing like a triple XL. Don't ask me why I love to sleep in this, but I do. A triple XL Walmart t-shirt. I don't know. They're so comfy. Don't knock it till you try it. But I wore this basically sleep shirt. It's a men's sleep shirt, I should say. It's like a triple XL men's sleep shirt or t-shirt. And I had that on and I had pimple patches on and my hair was wet from the shower. And I remember like I hadn't shaved and my eyebrows are very blonde. So I had taken my makeup off. I had like no eyebrows basically. And I remember looking at myself in the mirror and thinking like, this is me. Like this is me. If I think back to like my inner child self, like this is me. And I remember feeling so at peace with myself in that moment where I was like, wow, I'm really starting for the first time at 33, which is so crazy to finally feel comfortable in my own skin. And yeah, I was felt most like, wow, okay, like that's me. This is me in this moment without the makeup, without the jewelry, without the, trying to fit into XYZ today, like just being me, just being okay. And I remember being really proud of myself in that moment because it meant that I had overcome and released a lot of things in order to be able to make that happen. Now let's shift to professional, okay? So what part of your business this year felt effortless? What naturally worked and was in flow for you and what lit you up? Okay. So, what part of your business felt effortless this year? What came naturally to you and what lit you up? Second, being what projects or goals on the contrast felt heavy or potentially misaligned this year? What did you learn about how you lead, how you manage, how you make decisions this year? And what surprised you about your growth, your revenue, your clients, your confidence? What surprised you in any bucket? Those are just some examples. So we'll go back. What part of my business felt effortless? What came naturally or lit me up? One of the best things we can do as business owners is realize what is our flow state? What is the thing that we are like just so in the zone and it's so us and it's so effortless and it's just the thing that we love to do and it brings us so much joy. What is that thing? What is that area of your business? Is it a task? Is it a department? Is it a project maybe that you are working on? What parts of your business felt effortless? And I think it's important because if we don't know what those are, we can't really lean into the core parts of the business that truly, in essence, bring us joy. And so we want to follow those insights. We want to follow those places where we see, okay, like what is the part that if I could open this every day and I could do this task or I could do this thing, this is what feels like, oh, business is so worth it. This is everything that I would want to continue to do forever. And also there's effortless and then there's what comes natural too. What is something that, maybe it doesn't take a lot of strain, but also you're just like so naturally good at it? What is that thing for you? Maybe it's videos, maybe it's writing, could be sales, could be client delivery, could be team, camaraderie. And also, what just like lit you up? What's something in your business that you're like, man, that really gave me some fire this year? That thing really got me excited. That project, that team member, that new system, that development that we did, that meeting we had, the event that we did. What are those things that really are just like lighting you up in the business this year? And then on the contrast, what was the project, the goal, the thing, the area of the business that just felt heavy and misaligned? What was the thing that you feel like added a heaviness to the business this year? Was it a project that you worked on, a problem you had to solve? I had a client recently where when we started talking about her reflection of this year, it was a team member. There was a team member that, had been a team member for a very long time. And upon release of that team member, she was like, I feel like there's like lightness in the team again. Like I feel like there's like this energy within my team that like everyone's starting to feel more connected. We're having more fun. It's more lighthearted. And so I was like, okay, like what is the area that maybe, you know, there's a heaviness and is the heaviness still there? Has the heaviness left as a result of some changes or completion of something? And what did you learn about how you lead, how you manage, how you make decisions? What did you learn about yourself and the way you show up in your business this year? And for this, particularly for me, I realized this year that like I do so much better when I release the pressure on myself. I have such stupid high expectations and pressure of myself. And my partner was saying this to me. He's like, you create your own misery because no one else is expecting this of you. No one else expects you to have like the broken leg equivalent and keep running. You're expecting yourself to keep running. They're saying, girl, sit down. And so there was moments this year where I realized that my biggest critic is me. My biggest pusher and like my hard boss is my brain. And that became a really difficult thing to face because I realized my experience of feeling pressure is not from anybody else around me. It's from me. And so it was frustrating to discover, but it was also very empowering to discover because it meant that I have the full control to change my experience of what I feel within the business. Everything starts and ends with me in the sense of how I want to dial up pressure or dial down pressure. Both of that is connected to me. And then what surprised you about your growth this year? Maybe there's a surprise you had in revenue, surprise you had with clients, maybe in your confidence as well. Is there something that you were surprised by with yourself this year and that you really want to acknowledge in that? What did you do to surprise yourself this year? Are you maybe surprised by the way you were able to persevere through something and still show up in your business? Maybe you're, surprised by how easy it kind of felt to generate sales this year. Or you were surprised by the fact that the thing that helped you to grow was actually kind of simple. Or The surprise might even be that, my price that I thought I wanted to charge, that I thought no one's going to pay me that, people are now consistently paying me that. Like I'm surprised by the fact that I had so much resistance or, disbelief that that was possible. So, reflection is not about for us being right or wrong. It's not about this idea of like when we answer these questions, like, okay, was that a yes or was that a no? It's not about judgment, it's about awareness. And all this does is provide us information to inform us of when an opportunity comes next or what the next step might look like for us. And so when we think about designing our time now moving forward, we just have this awareness to bring with us and say, what do I want to do with it? How do I want to integrate this? What role does this have? And does it have a role at all? Or is it just an awareness? Now, another category I look at after we've gone through that personal and professional is we kind of want to go into a little bit of what I might call your wins and your wake ups. Okay. So the wins and wake ups are really the wins, pretty obvious. What are the, the wins that we had? But the wake ups are things we need to be a little bit more aware of, things that we want to become a little bit more conscious of, maybe an aha moment, if you will, could be the way that you think about it. And what are some of those that happened this year? And what can we do with that awareness to bring it into next year? So we're going to go personal bucket again first. What am I proud of that growth metrics can't or cannot measure? Okay. So, what are you proud of that my growth metrics cannot measure? Examples being emotional strength, resilience, your habits, your relationships. What are you like really proud of the growth in this year? I would say for me, mine for sure, I resonate with the word resilience. I'm like, holy smokes. It was a really testing year and a half. But I think that after my last relationship, I left that feeling very defeated, would be the word that I would use. And I really was in this belief of like, I don't know what's going to happen for me in that bucket. And then I met my now partner who has been so incredibly kind and supportive and just like the best cheerleader that I could ever ask for because I had to grow a lot in how I wanted to be as a partner myself and also trying to figure out what I needed of someone I wanted to be with. And I felt when we initially met that I was very unsure of those things and I was very messy. I was like working it all out still. And one of the things that I'm really proud of my growth in is the fact that even in the process of, meeting the most incredible man, I also gave myself the space to figure out me in the process and didn't rush anything, didn't make, grieving this past relationship when things would come up. I didn't make that wrong or try to hide it or any of that. I was like, hey, I'm, struggling with X and I'm navigating Y. I'm having this fear come up. I'm having this feeling come up. And I'm really proud of myself for not feeling like because I met somebody that I had to ignore this whole other part of me that I was navigating. And so I think the resilience of getting through it all, but also honoring myself was such a huge thing that I'm proud of myself for this year. Second question being, what part of me this year healed or evolved the most? Okay. So for you, what part of you healed or evolved the most this year? And maybe there was something this year that you're like, I really needed that healing. I needed that process. I needed that pain because that pain became the catalyst for the progress of XYZ this year. Like, what do you really, the part of you this year that healed? What part of you healed the most? And maybe you didn't experience anything difficult this year, but maybe you're like, I feel like I expanded, I evolved, I really grew in and into something this year, and I spread my wings in an area that I haven't before. And if so, what part of you was that? Was there an emotional part, a mental part, spiritual part, maybe? Maybe this was with friends, a relationship, with your health. Is there somewhere in your life this year that you're like, wow, I really did evolve a lot in that this year? Or maybe there's something that you healed a lot from, or you healed a lot within. Now, in the contrast, personally, where do you self sabotage? Where do you hold back from fully showing up? Fully showing up. And with this, is there maybe a story that you have, which is the reason that you self sabotage? Is there a story that keeps playing that keeps you in this repeat stuck pattern? Where do you self sabotage or where do you hold back from fully showing up? What mindset or story is there underneath that that causes that to continue? And do you know that yet? Maybe that's you don't know. Maybe that's something that you're like, I want to spend some time with that. I want to try to figure out what is that story? Where does that come from? And if you do have an awareness, ask yourself, what is a mindset or a story that I've been telling myself this year that I will say in this moment as I think about it, I'm really done repeating that. I'm really over that. I'm really sick of myself ruminating in this story. And you know what that is for you. Maybe it's health, maybe it's relationships, maybe it is in your business. Maybe there's a story of any kind. I can't do this. I don't deserve it. I won't make it. Right? What is that story that you keep repeating to yourself? That you really are you're ready to release it. You're ready to be done. You're ready to stop the repetition of that pattern. And it's a hard thing to do. Okay? So if you have this awareness, you go, "Man, thinking about releasing that." I'm not saying that you have to release that in this moment. But what we're acknowledging is that you and I both know that that story you have is not helping you. That story that you have is not actually allowing you to grow. Now, in the contrast, let's look at the business, okay? Let's look at the professional. What worked this past year? What worked in your marketing? What worked in your offers? What worked really well in your systems, your team? And in any of that awareness, what I want you to also be sure to ask yourself is, why did it work? Why did it work the way that it did? And I would say one of the things that I'm really happy with of this year for us, of what worked, is I feel like I have never had better relationships with my clients. Like I've never been at a better place with my clients. And the reason that I think that that is, if I was to connect to the why, is because I think this year, in tapping into more of understanding myself, I was able to show up more authentically with my clients. And then as a result of showing up more authentically with my clients, I was able to really connect with them on a much, much deeper level than I had previously because I was fully myself. I was fully open. I was fully present. And so there was no space between us because I was being fully me. And so I think part of why the client relationship side worked is because there was that depth, there was that connection. And even probably in some aspects from a team perspective, because there was a lot of times with my team and the women that help us with the business that I wasn't fully authentic. I wasn't fully like, this is where I'm at. This is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm struggling with. I'd be like, yeah, I'll handle it. I'll handle it. I'll handle it. Like I kind of was always still a little bit reserved. And I think this past year was really the first time where I was like, hey, like this is what I'm navigating. And I fully set it on the table. And I feel like as a result, it's built a level of trust that wasn't probably there prior because there's a full open door communication of the real authentic way that both of us are feeling. So that for me, when I think of what am I proud of and, you know, what am I can say confidently it worked. Like this really worked in this area. And I would actually urge you to think about this and to take a second to think about every department. What worked in your marketing? What worked in your sales? What worked in your offers? What worked with your team? And just take a second to think, is there kind of like a strategy, a change, an integration that you did that you go, man, that really did produce a lot of fruit for us. That really did produce a lot for us in the sense of outcomes. Now, in the contrast, what didn't work? What did not work as well this past year? And what is it showing you about your capacity or your direction? Okay, so what didn't work and what did it show you? What did it present to you and give you an understanding of for yourself? And in that, did it tell you anything about your capacity? Did it tell you anything about your direction? One of the things that I identified for myself this year, in the sense of the bucket of what did not work, is that I have a tendency to not believe that I'm human, like try to do all these things that are not really like realistic for a person or a human to navigate, handle, make happen, etc. And so I would get so frustrated of not being able to like crush goal after goal after goal, but it's like the reality was I didn't have capacity. I was emotionally navigating a lot, and so because of that, it did impact my business capacity. And I try to just go about business as usual, but like that's a lot easier said than done when you're navigating something so difficult. So I would say what didn't work was that I feel like I, at the time, was in denial that I needed a different approach to business given the different circumstances I was navigating in my reality, in my day to day life. And it gave me the indication that my capacity isn't as high as I thought it was. And it also helped me to understand that my capacity is greatly controlled by the level of which I pour into myself and the level of which I take care of me. And so that was also something that I feel like I had a lot of awareness of this year. Now, what investments, collaborations, or maybe risks that you took paid off in the business this year? So is there an investment that you made that you go, that was a really smart investment for me? Or maybe someone that you partnered with, someone you got support with, someone you took guidance from that you're like, that was a really smart move. Or maybe something that was just super risky. Was there something that you did this year that was so risky? So like, I was so scared to do that. I was not sure how that was going to work. I wasn't sure what was going to happen from that. And I'm so happy that I did because here's what it produced for me. What is that thing? What is that investment? What is that collaboration? What is that partnership or that risk? And it can be anything, big or small. It could be a risk on a team member. It could be a risk on an offer that you wanted to launch, a brand you wanted to create. It could even be, for another client, there was a break that she wanted. She wanted to take a break from her business. And it was very risky because she's like, I'm going to turn off all my marketing, turn off all my sales, turn off literally everything, like the entire business. She was going to turn it off. And that, truthfully, on the outside was a huge risk for her. It was a huge risk for her. But in saying yes to that and in taking that risk, she also had so much learning, so much clarity, and the realization that this break wasn't as impactful as she thought it'd be. Like it really was like a blip. No one even was impacted by it. It didn't change any domino into the business. It didn't change in domino into clients. Like everything was basically fine, just as it was before the break, as it was after. And so I think because of that, for her became an understanding of like the risk for myself was much bigger in my head than it actually was. So what investments would you say kind of paid off? Collaborations paid off, or maybe risks that you were super scared to take, but that because you did, you have understanding of information now that you're like, man, I'm so happy that I did that this year. Now, on the contrast, this is going to be a tricky one for everybody, or a little bit of a sticky one for everybody to answer. Where did you overextend this year? Where did you overpromise? And where did you under resource yourself? Okay, I'm going to say it again. Where did you overextend? Where did you overpromise? Where did you under resource yourself this year? I talked to a client yesterday and she shared something that I think is very relatable to many entrepreneurs. She said, Kate, I'm going to be honest. She has a very successful agency, right on the cusp of $1 million a year. And she said, we're helping her to get some boundaries with some of her clients. And she had said to me, Kate, I worry that the reason my clients want to be with me is because I over deliver. Like I worry that if I put boundaries up, I worry if I don't answer their every command, I worry that if I don't, kind of move at their beck and call, that support is the real reason they're with me. And so if I change that support, they're not going to want to work with me anymore. So for her, she really has been underserving herself and way over delivering or overextending, over promising to clients in the belief that that's what makes her valuable. And I think that this is very true for many businesses. Many of us feel like if a client wants something outside of scope, we're like, well, I've really been working with this client for a long time. They're a very loyal client. And so we start to kind of make these concessions to, over provide or over deliver, overextend, even though sometimes the week before we're so frustrated because you're doing so much that's not in the contract, or you're so frustrated because you're being asked to do so many things that you're not being paid for. There's many instances or experiences of how it shows up. But I think at the end of the day, you have to be really honest with yourself. Where are you overextending in the business? Where are you over promising and under resourcing yourself? And I will say another one I see with clients in this same question is that they focus so much on your client's success, your client's account, your client's coaching, your client's results, your client's support, that you forgot about your own plan, your own integration, your own support, your own results. And then we look up and we become frustrated when really it starts with us. It starts with us getting boundaries. It starts with us getting clarity of like, where are we overextending? And we got to take these little tweaks and refinements to harness it back in. Because you do only have so much capacity. And if you give all that capacity to your clients to never serve your own business, the only thing that changes that reality is you. And so the invitation becomes, where do we have the awareness that we're overextending, overpromising, and under-resourcing ourselves, so we can take that and start to eventually build that into something we want to make a plan for. So the goal when we have these awarenesses in this bucket, like for example, the idea of overpromising or over-delivering, I think there's this kind of natural catastrophizing that happens, which is that we get into this place of like, well, now what am I supposed to do? The clients have this as an expectation. The clients want this. And like, I've been doing this whole time, or this is how it's always been. This is not about starting over. It's not about saying, okay, well, I have to wait till the next client because I can't put any of these boundaries in enforcement with my existing clients. It's not about that. It's about taking the step in front of you, which is that like if the client asks about something that is outside of scope and that they are not paying for, you can use that ask and that invitation to say, hey, totally happy and excited to support you with this. However, this is not something that we actually technically do within our existing support. Did you want to talk about adding that to your support, or like what would be best for you? Right? Or how can we best support you? But this is what our boundary would look like. Or like, hey, I need this turned around within 24 hours. And in your mind, you're thinking, there's no way I'm going to get that done in 24 hours unless I work way overtime tonight. Well, the reality is it's not like, well, I've already done this, so I guess I got to work overtime tonight. You can also say, hey, unfortunately, I won't be able to get this done by tomorrow. We typically do need on average, 72 business hours to get this turned around. So the earliest I could see getting it to you would be this day. Unfortunately, that would be the fastest I could do for you. But if you did need it earlier, it probably would need to be done on your side, just because I don't think that we would be able to do it with quality and with our process until 72 hours. You are for sure within your right to do that. But it's a little moment. It's a situation to situation thing. It's not like because you've been off or because you have been unaligned maybe in your enforcing of your boundaries that you have to wait till the next client, or you have to wait and start all over with your process. It's situational and you can start at any moment. So we don't need the next client. I'll start Monday. I'll start this and this destination goal. We really, more than anything, are looking to say, okay, what is the invitation in front of me? And how can I leverage this right now to take the situation and start to make change immediately? So we've looked back and we've also looked at the wins and what gave us really a wake up call this year. So let's shift gears a little bit and look ahead. Okay. Let's look to the future now. What do you want more of in your daily life? Okay. So this is personal, does not have to be business at all. What do you want more of in your daily life? Your energy, your presence, your connection, your rest. What do you want more of within your daily life? For me, my thing I want more of is like slowness and presence. Like I want this less rushing. Like I don't want to like rush up the stairs. I just want to walk up the stairs. I don't want to like rush to be cooking. I just want to cook. Like I don't want there to be a rush, 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 rush because I find that that is the thief of presence. Is that like the constant push, 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 push is the thing that pushes me away from being present. So when I'm like, okay, gotta walk the dogs, boom, boom, boom. It's like I'm not really taking in the fresh air outside and the trees and the sun and like, laying in the grass with my dogs for 2 minutes. Like 2 minutes. Okay. Like 120 seconds. Like that's what we're talking about. You can be present. You don't have to rush to a call and then rush to the gym and then rush to have dinner and rush to this. It's like, is there also a part of this which is just I'm creating my rush? Or like I'm deciding I'm not doing X because it will cause me to be rushed. So for me, the thing that I want more of in my daily life is more presence. And I would say kind of the way that I would distill it down or define it is like more peace. I want to have more peaceful pace in my day and not feel like I'm constantly go, 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 go all the time. Because again, as I said, oftentimes that's self-inflicted. What do you want more of in your daily life? Is it maybe, having more time before work? Is it time at 5 o'clock or 3 o'clock when you close your work for the day and you go, okay, that's it for me. And you close your books, you're done. Like, what do you want more of in your life? Is it sleep? Is it connection? You want to spend more time with people. You feel like maybe you're a little bit more isolated than you'd want to be. Do you want, more fun, more play? Like when was the last time you had fun that you just simply played and you were just messing around and joking around and laughing and not working on a goal or handling something or taking care of responsibilities or having someone expecting something of you? Like when was the last time you just had fun and you just played? Question being, what version of you do you want to lead into next year? How does the version of you next year think, decide, behave, show up? Who is she? Who is that person? And I want you to just like, this one's really important. We do this with all of our clients when we do quarterly planning is we do the SOAR self, like the one of you that goes for that big scaling goal. And then we go for what we call the small self, which is really the version of you that is playing small. And of all the questions today, I think this one is essential, 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 because great quote that my amazing partner always says at every retreat, every podcast, every conference, he talks about it everywhere, is the fact that you don't have the business you want because you haven't become the person to run it. And I think one of the things that is the most impactful thing for you and for your business is that you need to actually understand, who am I trying to become? Are you maybe even right now in a state or a journey of becoming? Or are you stagnant? Are you becoming something? Are you developing? Are you shifting? Are you growing? If so, who is that? What is she doing? Who is she? And we go really granular with this one. So this is something you can really, really start to tease out if you want to. I think about, how does she wake up in the morning? What does she do when she's tired? How does she invest? How does she make decisions? Who does she surround herself with? What does she spend money on? How does she take care of her body? What does she do for her mindset? What's her outlook on life? How does she think about problems or resistance? How does she show up in her relationship? How does she show up maybe for you as a mom? How does she show up as a friend? How is she when she's alone? How is she when she's by herself and with herself? And what does she do to recharge? What does she do in her off time? What are her hobbies, or what are the things that she does to fill her cup or to fill her bucket? And what version of you do you want to be next year? Is really, who is that scaling self that you want to tap into, become, and step into as a way to become the person you want, to have the business that you want, to have the life that you want? Because I think this question is so important because none of us start enough with the identity of who we are to create the environment we're looking for. We always go to the environment. Many of us start with the instructions of what it is that we want to do before actually identifying what is the identity of who I need to be and how I need to think in order to make that happen. So, this question is crucial because it challenges us to say, who is that person? What is the identity that I need to infuse? What is the identity that I need to adopt in order to have the outcomes, the actions, the behaviors that I'm looking for within my life and within my business? Now, with this, what habits or boundaries will help you to sustain growth in the next year without burning out? Okay, so I want you to think about your goal for next year. Could be financial, could be a offer goal, could be a team goal, could be just a reality that you want. Maybe you want to buy a house, maybe you want to become a mom, maybe you want to get married, maybe you want to start a second business, maybe you want to build a product, whatever it might be. What are habits and boundaries that will help you to sustain ensuring that goal or growth toward that goal without burning out? So, everything that we want to do in life can become an extreme if we want it to be. If you want to work out, that's very different than working out an extreme. If you want to, for example, save money, there's save money in the sense of we have a savings account that we pour into every month versus we're never going to dinner, we're not buying coffees, we're not doing X, we're not going to the movies, right? There's an extreme on every spectrum. So the habits and the behaviors help to act as our bumper lanes from which we operate in achievement toward our goals, in the pursuit toward them. So, what we want to look at is, what are those bumper lanes and how do we make sure that we're not falling into extremes? One of the extremes that presents in business all the time is the fact that people burn out because there's this 0 to 100. There's no compass from which to kind of find neutral or find a bumper lane to fall within. It's always just go, 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 which is the fastest way to end up burnt out. So, the habits and the boundaries, if you are someone, by the way, who's very prone to burnout, or you've maybe found in the past that you have a tendency toward burnout, one of the things that we would look at is to say, okay, great. Well, if we know that we have this tendency toward burnout, what are those habits? So is it when I start work each day, I have to be really firm on that. When I'm done work each day, I'm firm on. I never skip lunch. It's very easy to do. Put in a meeting there, put in a go on social media there, and you start to fill up your calendar. You're like, I'm not going to do that. So, what are those things? What are those boundaries? What are those habits that, if you are to integrate them, will help you in the pursuit of your goal without burning out? Okay. So, what are those? And a simple question would be, what would make this next year for you feel really peaceful, but yet powerful at the same time? And the peaceful and powerful combo is very intentional because I think that the misconception that many people have in business is that in order to be able, or just in life, to be able to have peace means that you cannot pursue. I think there's this kind of like natural connection that people create that, oh, if I'm going to have peace and serenity and calm, right, that you're not pursuing. If we think about even, for example, vacation is a break from your normal life. It's a break from the everyday that you're used to. So, with that, in connection to the peace of vacation is also the procrastination of work. But the question becomes, how could you have peace while also staying in your power at the same time? That, to me, I think is a really, really important question for many of us to figure out, what is that compass? Because often most people choose one or the other. I have peace on weekends. I'm in my power Monday to Friday. Okay. I have peace on vacation. I'm in my power when I'm working and when I'm not on vacation. Or I have peace after 5 p.m., but from 9 to 5, I have power. So the curiosity is to play with the idea of having peace and power in constant duality? Can you be peaceful while going in and out of the powerful parts of you? Can you have peace within your day to day moments, in the coffee you have in the morning, in your lunch in the middle of the workday, on the 2 moments that you have in between a Zoom call, on the Zoom call itself, recording a podcast, making content? Can that be just as peaceful as it is powerful at the same time? I think that for me was a question that allowed me to unlock what I would say is like destination peace, which is that we often pursue peace and serenity and calm in this destination. When I achieve blank, once I'm here, I can chill. Once I'm there, I can pull back. Once I'm here, I can start to have balance. Once I achieve that goal, I can start to have a little bit pull off the reins a little bit. Only once I get there. And I would personally submit that that's a very extreme way of thinking. It's an all or nothing thinking. And what it means is you're actually very much out of balance. It's not to say that you cannot be ambitious. It's not to say that you cannot have massive goals. It's not to say that you can not have these huge targets that you want to go for. It is to say that you do not have to ignore the peace and serenity in the pursuit of the powerful goal that you're going for. Now, professionally, what is the next evolution of your brand or business this year? What's the next evolution? So if I was to think about, next year for you, if you were to explain to me, well, I see this is where I'm going. This is who I'm becoming in my business. This is where I see us evolving into. And I also want to say, as I ask this, what is the next evolution of your brand, your business, your company, your leadership? If you don't know the answer to this question, that's okay. Because that in itself is a huge awareness, which is that you maybe until this point have been doing everything that you've always been doing. We market the way we've always been marketing. We sell the way we've always been selling. We have the clients that we've always been working with, right? Like there's kind of this almost Groundhog's Day type of approach to it. And that is because it's just the thing that you've always done. But you want to remember that that means you really aren't evolving. So maybe your core reflection from today, if you don't know the answer to this question, is to say, who am I in the pursuit of becoming? Where are we going as a company? Where are we evolving to? Where are we expanding to? As a business, as a team, as a leader, what does that look like? And where are we going? What is our North Star? What do I see us evolving into? That's a really, as a company, a very important thing to know what it is that you're looking to do within your specific business, in your category or your industry, as a brand. What's the next evolution of you? Where are you going? What is one area of focus that you feel will make everything else that you're doing easier and more effective? Okay, so what is one area of focus for you that you know if you dialed it in and focused on it, it would make everything else easier and more effective? So, for me, the area of focus in business that makes everything else easier or more effective, I have solidified is triaging. Triaging for me means the ability in a given moment, day, week, month, quarter, or year to be able to look at a master to-do list of all the ideas that I have, all the thoughts that I have, and to be able to look at it like an emergency room. So the emergency room is the ability to know that everything here feels urgent. Everything here feels like an emergency. Everybody wants my time, my energy, my decision, my support. There's a lot of people, things, situations pulling at you. That's not going to change. So if you're waiting for things to chill out before you do blank, never going to happen as a business owner, never going to happen as an entrepreneur. So your job, your requirement, frankly, is to know how to triage, which is to make moment to moment, situation to situation decisions to know how to look at all the things that are an emergency room right now and know how to sort those. So if someone comes in with a head wound and someone comes in with a broken leg and someone comes in with a panic attack, there is a triage to those. There is a level of priority within each of those instances that comes into an emergency room, which is why some people will immediately be rushed in within 30 seconds and some people will be asked to sit in the waiting room for the next 4 hours. That is because even though it all feels urgent, it's not all actually urgent, and triaging is the ability to sort that information in real time, to sort information as the market changes, to sort information as you're planning goals, to sort information in anything that you're doing, anything that you're experiencing. And so, what is one thing that's an area of focus that will make everything easier and more effective? For me, I would say it's an emphasis and it's a constant working on triaging, because only once you can properly triage a business and sort the areas and levels of priority can you actually get a clear distinction of this is what we should be doing and this is what we should not be doing in a given moment. So that is something that I do think is really important for me to continue to have emphasis on. Now, for you, it might be different. Maybe for you, it's like, well, if I focused more on marketing, it would make it a lot easier this year because we'd have the leads we need for everything else to work. Or maybe for you, it's team. If we focus on team efficiency, we can really dial things up here because it means that we have the same players that we need to help things to produce. All of that is possible. It's just a question of what is that thing for you, that area of focus for you that you know right now you're like, man, if we really focused on X, we could get some serious movement, some serious momentum when it comes to our efficiency and our ability to be more effective and to frankly grow and scale easier this year. Now, what offers, what team structure, what systems will actually be needed this year for you to be supported in scaling sustainably? What do you need? If you think about like, I'm going to wave a magic wand, and if I had this, I feel like I would really have what I need to be able to grow this year. What is that thing? Is it a system? Is it a team member? Is it a strategy? Is it a reality? Is there like a marketing thing that you want to see, a sales thing that you want to see? What are the things that you want to see happen or occur or, yeah, shift to tell you, okay, great, we're starting to see movement in the area that we're looking for now. This is what we're looking for. And what is the long-term vision for you and for your business? What is the long-term vision? This is something you would be shocked. How many people, and I'm telling you this because I don't want you to feel alone, how many entrepreneurs don't have the answer to this question? What is the long-term vision for you and your business? They go, I don't know. I feel like I know where I want to go this year. Where I want to go outside of that, I have no idea. And so if you are at a place where you feel like you're struggling to get the steps, it also could be because you don't actually have the vision. So like I tell people, it's really difficult to put together, IKEA furniture if you have no vision of what the thing is supposed to look like when it's done. Like, are we building a dresser? Are we building a mirror? Are we building a desk? Are we building a side table? Like, what are we building here? If we don't have the vision, how are we supposed to know what to build? So we need to look at what is that vision for your business? What is that vision of what you want to create? And with that, if I was to ask you, what is the very first, smallest step that you could take to be the first stepping stone toward that vision? What is that thing? Because if we have that, that starts initially the momentum toward our North Star. But the question is, again, do we know what that is? So the goal in business is clarity. The goal in life is clarity. When you have clarity, you have what you need to begin creation, to create momentum, to create plans, to create action, to create achievement. But today was about getting you that clarity because reflection, like we did today, of the questions, all the ones we went through, both personally and professionally, the questions we asked today are reflection, which actually is what creates direction. Okay. So your reflection and the level of reflection that you do within your business is directly correlated to the level of direction that you will have. Many of us want to know, where do we go? What do we do? What do we achieve? What am I supposed to have? What's supposed to happen next? What's the action I'm supposed to take? You're like, but where are you even going? Why are you going there? Have you gone there before? What did you learn last time you tried to get there? What do we want to have as a focus when we do get there? If we have no understanding and awareness, it becomes very difficult to try to go truthfully for anything, to create momentum toward anything. And so this is an exercise that I also want to invite you to come back to. This is not like a one and done. I did this, boom, finished. I urge you to literally go through this as an exercise for yourself. Set a timer if you want. One thing that I would do, because I'm a 3, 2, 1, go kind of person, is I would literally put a calendar booking on your booking once a quarter. And I would say reflect. And it would be listen to, if you want to play back the episode, if you want to take notes of the questions. This is something that I will tell you is a practice constantly. And I also want to say this is a larger reflection we did today, but you can also do reflections in smaller increments. So, like for me, every single week when I'm done the week on Sundays, I typically will look at the week that just happened. So, like the week that just passed. And I would say, okay, where did I not do very well? What are things that I thought did go well? So, like, ooh, I did that. It gave me lots of energy. Ooh, I did those calls all back to back. That was not a smart move. I'm not doing that again. I thought I could get all those things done in that day. That wasn't possible because of the following reason, which was the fact that I didn't have enough energetic capacity. And I realized that I went to bed way too late the night before to be able to do that the next day. So moving forward, I'm going to do this. Like I am trying all the time to reflect on like, what was the good decision? What did I learn? What are the awarenesses I have of myself? What's the awareness I had of the business? I am constantly tuned into these. And that is because only once you have the awareness can you make change. We actually have an episode that is dedicated to the different levels of awareness. And one of the first steps, and they say this in any type of thing you want to do, first step is becoming awareness. First step is acknowledging it. The same thing is true with your life, but also with your business. Let's get clarity so we can actually use this reflection to get direction. Okay. So my invitation is go through these questions. Give yourself a timer to go through this once a quarter. Give yourself an opportunity to try to just work reflection in general more into your schedule, your lifestyle, and into your routine. And you will be shocked what starts to happen within your world. So I hope today was helpful for you. Of course, if you are also having some of these reflections, you're like, man, I have some thoughts on this. I realized I had this awareness about my business, or I need this strategy, or I feel like I'm needing clarity here. You know where to find me. My DMs and my messages are always open. I'm always so excited and happy to chat with you. And as well, even if there's not something maybe in connection to the questions today, but if there's even just an awareness that you had, listening, or if maybe there's just something in general that you want to share from today's episode or maybe a previous episode, I also want to invite you to reach out. I will tell you, I cannot tell you enough how much it means to me to be able to get messages of like, this episode resonated with me. I feel like this is exactly what I needed. This is the thing that I took from this. I took this action from it. I made this plan from it. Like, I always love to hear from you. And also with that, love to support in any way I can through messages with you for the clarity that you're having. So if you are wanting to chat, you know where to find me. Reach out anytime. And with that being said, we will see you on next week's episode. And as always, stay ambitious.